So now we're going to do the identifying sentence errors, and I'd like to whip through these, all right? So if you have the book in front of you, then it should be easy to follow along. Otherwise, listen closely. I'm just going to read the sentence. I'm going to identify the error. I'm going to tell you what type of error it is. So on page 776 now, question 12. All right, so here's the structure. You have 4 underlined portions in the sentence, all right? And one of them could be containing some sort of error. So if you spot an error, then that is the correct answer. You don't have to correct it. You don't have to say how to change it so as to make it not an error. You just have to say there's the error, and that's your answer choice. If there is no error, then the correct answer choice is E, no error. All right. So let's run through these. Much of the success of Frank Capra and George Stevens as a director of motion pictures can be attributed to the technical work of talented film editors. So we have much of the success of Frank Capra and George Stevens as a director. Wait, as a director. What have we just said? We've just said much of the success of 2 guys, Capra and George Stevens. So much of their success as a director, are they a director or are they directors? All right. So this is answer choice B. What we have the wrong number. All right. So our noun is in the wrong number. Therefore, answer choice B is the correct answer. Question 13. It was fortunate that Miss Seward attended the committee meeting, for only she was able to examine the problem calm and thoughtfully. Well, did you hear that? Calm. It's not an M. Calm and thoughtfully. So how did she examine? Well, she examined it thoughtfully. But do you examine calm? No, you examine calmly. So answer choice D. This is the wrong word. We were given a adjective form when we wanted the adverb form. So answer choice D is the correct answer. Question 14. My colleague and myself. Okay. Doesn't that strike you immediately? My colleague and myself. All right. Myself is a reflexive pronoun. What we want here is, this is the subject of the sentence. Do you use myself as the subject? No. What you'd prefer is something like I. My colleague and I received an award for our paper on the accuracy with which a polygraph measures physiological processes. So, what this is an example of a pronoun. The wrong pronoun, I actually don't know. It's not case. It's not a case issue, but it's just the wrong pronoun, all right? You don't want myself, the reflexive. You want the subjective form. So I guess that is pronoun case error. So, okay. Answer choice A would be the correct answer here. Now, I know it's weird to think about. Say, well, what's the correct answer? The correct answer is the answer choice that has an error. So what's right is what's wrong, all right? And what's wrong is what's right. Yes. Somewhat counterintuitive, but it makes sense in the context, right? So let's look at 15. A lack of job opportunities for recent graduates restricts their independence, often forcing them to remain at home or else they move back home. All right, so this is a parallelism issue. Forcing them to remain at home or, what it says, or else they move back home. All right, so the error here is right here, and this is D. To remain at home or to move back home. That's what it should be, not or else they move, right? It's the parallelism. So this is an example of faulty parallelism. When you're making this sort of when you're making this sort of comparison, to either do one or the other, you want them to be in the same grammatical shape, right? To remain or to move. That's what we want, not or else they move. So the error is in D, therefore D is the correct answer choice. Question 16. Marathon racing, a challenging test of endurance, has become increasingly popular among amateur athletes in the last few years. All right, let me read that again. Marathon racing, a challenging test of endurance, has become increasingly popular among amateur athletes in the last few years. I didn't hear an error. And if you don't hear an error, you know what that means? That means you got a no error. Answer choice E. All right, those are fun. Sometimes I think students are scared to put answer choice E because they say, "Oh, I'm looking for the error. How come I haven't found it yet? How come I haven't found it?" Well, sometimes there is no error. Don't be afraid to put it. All right, so question 17. Crossing and recrossing the stream, stepping on or over slippery rocks, and following a trail that grew steeper and steeper. The hikers soon realized how challenging their day would be. Whoa. All right. We need to take a close look at this one. Crossing and recrossing the stream, stepping on or over slippery rocks, and following a trail that grew steeper and steeper. That whole part, that's a list. And the important part about a list is that if you're using, in this case, these sort of verbals, crossing and recrossing, stepping, following, they all have the ing form, so they are all in parallel. All right? And that's what's important. That's what's key. So, all of that works, all right? A, B, and C. And following a trail that grew steeper and steeper, the hikers soon realized. Grew, realized, all the verbs are in parallel. We're talking in past tense. The hikers soon realized how challenging their day would be. There's no error there. That is all grammatically fine. So, no error. Answer choice E. (18) Though best known as a jazz vocalist, he also enjoyed gospel music, whereby he told his manager that he wanted to make a recording of his favorite gospel songs. All right. Where's the error there? Whereby. It's choice C. What's the problem with whereby? Well, it doesn't have the correct connotation. This doesn't mean what you think it means, all right? How about something like so instead of whereby? Though best known as a jazz vocalist, he also enjoyed gospel music. So, he told his manager that he wanted to make a recording of his favorite gospel songs, all right? Whereby doesn't have that sort of connotation. Doesn't mean that same thing. So, answer choice C would be the correct answer here. Question 19. In the foothills of that large mountain range is the sources of a river whose course was not fully mapped until this century. All right. Now for us native speakers, this one might be a little bit easier. All right. However, for those people who study grammar intensely, you might not realize that this is a rule. All right. And here it goes. The sentence starts, in the foothills of that large mountain range. Well, of that large mountain range is a prepositional phrase that's modifying in the foothills, right? So in the foothills is the sources of a river. Now, I know what you're saying. If you're looking at this and you're looking, okay, is the verb, the sources is our complement, where's our subject? Well, sometimes a prepositional phrase in the foothills can actually act as the subject of your sentence. Now, when does a prepositional phrase, when can it act as a subject? Either in issues of time, at 9 o'clock, or something like that, okay? Well, in this case, this is a where. So there's time and place. And when you have a prepositional phrase indicating time or place, then they can possibly act as a subject. And so how do you figure out how your subject and verb should agree, well, I think it would have to go with what type of noun is the object of the preposition. In the foothills. Is the sources? No. Should be are the sources. In the foothills are the sources of the river. Okay? So answer choice A would be the correct answer. It is a subject-verb agreement error. We have a plural subject, even though, how are you supposed to figure out it's plural? Well, you look at your preposition, you look at the object, it's plural. You look at your verb, we have a singular verb, is a singular. So what does that mean? We have a subject-verb agreement error. So there you have it. Oh, excuse me. Page 777. Hopefully this is everyone's lucky page. I'm going to type this in green. Green is a lucky color, right? Question number 20. In 1850, Jim Beckwourth, a black American explorer, discovered in the mountains of the Sierra Nevada a pass soon becoming an important gateway to the California gold rush country. All right, what's the problem here? A pass soon becoming. All right, soon becoming an important gateway to the California. There's no two M's. Excuse me. Soon becoming. All right, answer choice C. What's the problem here? A black American explorer discovered in the mountains of the Sierra Nevada pass, soon becoming an important gateway to California. All right, soon becoming. How about that soon became? All right, because we want something that's in past tense. All right, so becoming is a participle. That's not what we want. All right, so therefore C would be our correct answer choice, or in this case the error. Question 21. Because the flood has made the bridge inaccessible to automobiles and pedestrians alike, we had rented a small boat to reach the island. All right. Here's what's the error here. We had rented. What is the point of had? All right. Why do we need to say we had rented? As if, you use the perfect aspect to say use the perfect aspect to indicate some action that happened before an action, or something like that. This is the past perfect. All right. Well, in this case, we've already had the event that happened before the renting, right? Because the flood has made the bridge inaccessible, we rented a small boat to reach the island, all right? Or we have rented, not had rented, all right? You don't go from has made the bridge inaccessible to something that happened before that, had rented. So in this case, answer choice C would be the correct answer choice. Question 22. The Mount Isa mine complex is one of the most highly mechanized in the world, plus being the single largest industrial enterprise in Queensland. All right. There's that word again that I don't like, at least in terms of the SAT. Well, plus being. Is that really the most succinct? Is that the best way to say this? No, I wouldn't say so. I don't think plus being is the sort of conjunction you need, all right? I don't think this is not grammatically correct, right? The Mount Isa mine complex is one of the most highly mechanized in the world, plus being the largest single industrial enterprise in Queensland, all right? This isn't the type of phrase we want. We want something else. So there's our error. Question 23. Although one likes to believe that your own children are beautiful, intelligent, and well-behaved, what one believes is not always the case. What's the problem here? Although one likes to believe that your own children what's the problem? We have a change in pronoun types. So I'd say that your would be best replaced by something like, although one likes to believe that one's own children are beautiful, not your own, all right? If we had started, although you like to believe that your own children are beautiful, what you believe is not always the case. No, we don't have that. We have one later, so we don't want to change to your all of a sudden. That's no good. So answer choice C would be the correct answer. Question 24. Question 24 says, the warning in the plays is clear. Unless we restore the integrity of the family, all traditional values will disappear. Let's read it again. The warning in the plays is clear. All right, is the verb, agrees with the warning, singular, right? Unless we restore the integrity of the family. Well, that's fine. Comma, all traditional values will disappear. Okay. I don't hear an error. You know what that means? Answer choice E. No error. Great. Question 25 then. As a student becomes familiar with both early and contemporary Native American literature, one may notice that traditional stories have influenced recent ones. All right, so we saw this just a moment ago, except now we're in a different strait. All right, as a student becomes familiar with both early and contemporary Native American literature, one may notice. All right, so one's referring back to student, but is that the correct pronoun to be taking place of student? No. All right, this is some general pronoun. Student should be something like he or she, not just one. All right, so B would be the error here. All right, so question number 26. John Edgar Wideman is regarded to be one of the most talented writers of the late 20th century and is often compared to such literary giants as Ralph Ellison and Richard Wright. Okay, what's going on here? John Edgar Wideman is regarded to be, regarded to be. This is an example of a idiom. Do you regard someone to be, or do you regard them as? And so an idiom is some sort of like, verb prepositional pair. So you don't regard to be, you regard as. You'd say John Edgar Wideman is regarded as one of the most talented, not regarded to be. So what's our error? A. Question number 27. Mastery of cardiopulmonary resuscitation techniques are mandatory for firefighters and police officers, as well as rescue squad volunteers. So, what's the problem here? Mastery of, mastery would be our subject. Mastery of cardiopulmonary resuscitation techniques are mandatory. Okay, so you look at what's underlined. Are. This is a verb. What's the subject? Mastery. Okay, mastery is what? Singular. Are is what? Plural. Therefore, what do we have? A subject-verb agreement error. Our verb is plural when it should be singular. Therefore, are is wrong. We should have is. Mastery is mandatory. Great. Choice B is the correct answer. Question 28. In the United States, the industrial use of plastics is greater than steel, aluminum, and copper combined. Okay, so we have this. The use of blank is greater than steel. Than steel. Here's the thing. We're comparing two things. All right? We're comparing the use of something to what? The use of is greater than steel? No, 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 no. We need something of like this. The use of plastics is greater than the use of steel, aluminum, and copper combined, right? Because we're not comparing use of something with an actual object. We're comparing the two uses. So, as it stands, than steel is missing this important phrase. So this would be considered a faulty comparison as it stands now. So why is it a faulty comparison? Well, we're comparing the use of something with an object. Those aren't comparable. They're not grammatically similar. Well, they're not similar as far as, you know, the ideas that are involved. So, okay. #29, the last identifying sentence errors question. Oh no. Let's see what we got. The dolls in the collection, all more than 200 years old, had been carefully carved for children long since gone. Okay. So we have two main elements in this. We have our main clause, our independent clause. The dolls in the collection had been carefully carved for children long since gone. And then there's our modifying phrase, all more than 200 years old. So, the dolls in the collection, all more than 200 years old, that's fine. Alright, the modifier is obviously modifying the dolls. There's no grammatical error there. Had been carefully carved for children long since gone. Carefully carved, that's fine. For children long since gone. That sort of idiom is fine. So what are we left with? We're left with nothing. We're left with no error. Okay. Now, for the final part of our lesson. We're moving to page 778. We now have the improving paragraphs questions. In improving paragraphs, there's only 6 of them on any SAT. So if you're not good at them, don't fret too much because, well, there's not too many of them that you have to answer. Luckily, though, I find that these aren't too hard, all right? So because they're not too hard, well, then I don't have to worry about it, all right? And there's only a few types of questions that you'll see on these. Revision questions, insertion questions, composition questions, content, all right? We're not dealing with grammar so much anymore as we're dealing with composition and rhetoric. Trying to improve these paragraphs. So, let's go. Question 30. In context, which of the following is the best phrase to insert at the beginning of sentence 3? So we can read through sentences 1 through 3, because the important part on here is that context matters. Unlike the previous questions, 1 through 30 that we've just done, or 1 through 29, context hasn't been a factor. Now it is. So in 30 it says, in context. That phrase is important. Which of the following is the best phrase to insert at the beginning of sentence 3? So, what you could do is you could read all around here. You could read the entire paragraph if you'd like, just to gain the context. For now, we'll just read the first 2 sentences. What person from the past would I most like to meet? Not a famous or powerful person. I would prefer meeting a really good observer who lived in a faraway place at a dramatic moment in time. And then sentence 3 says, Nancy Gardner Prince, a young African-American woman who went to live at the Imperial Russian Court in 1824. All right. So we've just said, what person would I like to meet? And then suddenly she says, Nancy Gardner Prince. All right. Well, what phrase would make this a little more obvious? That one is, which person? That one is Nancy Gardner Smith. Or, my choice would be. Who would I like to meet? My choice would be Nancy Gardner Smith. Which one of these is better? I think B would be the better choice right now. that one is versus my choice would be. Wouldn't this make sense if you said my choice would be Nancy Gardner Smith? Well, then the context is clear. What the purpose of this sentence is clear. Instead of just starting Nancy Gardner Smith, you're saying my choice would be Nancy Gardner Smith. The author's making it clear who her choice would be, or who his choice would be. All right? So what about C? C says, in any case, that would be. All right, that, no. That's probably not the right word. D, an excellent observer. Nancy Gardner Prince, a young African American woman. Well, the problem here with 3 is that as it stands, it's an incomplete sentence. It's a sentence fragment. So we need something like what we have in B. My choice would be. We have a subject, we have a verb. The Nancy Gardner Smith becomes the complement. And then after that, a young African American woman who went to live in the Imperial Russian court in 1824, that whole last part is a modifying phrase, all right? It's not standing alone as some sort of independent clause. Therefore, B corrects the sort of the incomplete sentence error that we had, right? How about D? An excellent observer. No, that's not going to correct the error. How about E? Nevertheless, I have chosen. Wait, nevertheless? Why would... If you read later in the passage, the author goes on to say how Nancy Gardner Smith was a good observer. So nevertheless would seem to contrast Nancy Gardner Smith with the good observers that the author would like to pick, all right, or would prefer to meet. So nevertheless, that's the wrong connotation. So we're left with B. So this is a insert a phrase into a sentence. That's the type of question type we answer choice or question 30 is. All right. Question 31. In context, which of the following revisions would not improve sentence 4? All right, so this is a revision question. However, they're asking us which revision would not improve it. So, sentence 4 says, this is right after she's saying, my choice would be Nancy Gardner Prince, a young African American woman who went to live at the Imperial Russian court in 1824. Sentence 4. Some of the most famous events in Russian history took place then. There was a time when people challenged the government, fought hardly for social reforms, risking being defeated and punished. So, would you begin the sentence with, I should explain? So would this improve the sentence? So there's a couple problems with this sentence. So, I should explain. Some of the most famous events in Russian history took place then. All right? Okay. I don't know. I should explain. Maybe it's obvious that that's exactly what she's doing, right? She is explaining. Maybe this would be redundant. So A, it's a little questionable whether or not that would help. How about B? Change then, comma there, all right, to then, period, it. So how would this affect the sentence? Some of the most famous events in Russian history took place then, period. It was a time when people challenged the government. Ah, this would help. This would definitely help. Why? Because in the original sentence, we have a run-on sentence. We have a comma splice. So by putting the period instead of the comma, we fixed an error. So B would be a revision that would improve the sentence. Therefore, it's not the type of answer choice we want. We want the one that will not improve. So C, delete the comma after government and insert and. So the sentence reads, there was a time when people challenged the government and fought hardly for social reforms, risking being defeated and punished. Well, that makes sense because originally it looked like a list. There was, there was 3 items, there were 2 commas, but by changing it to and, so they challenged the government and fought hardly for social reform. Well, then there you go. That connects the 2 ideas. And then what comes after that is the comma, risking being defeated and punished. That little modifying phrase is modifying both the challenging the government and the fighting hardly. So that would work. That would improve here. So no to C. How about D? Change hardly to passionately. Fought hardly or fought passionately? All right. Fought passionately makes more sense. Fought hardly? That's not really a real word, though, right? So, okay, passionately would be a good revision. How about E? Change being defeated and punished to defeat and punishment, right? So, when the people challenged the government and fought hardly for social reform, risking defeat and punishment, is that better than being defeated and punished? I would say so, right? Why? Well, because we have that word being, right? This makes more sense. Risking defeat and punishment. That's what they're risking. They're risking these two. Are they risking being defeated and punishment? Yes, but this is a little bit more succinct, a little more concise. So what does that mean? Beginning the sentence with I should explain really wouldn't do much because, well, that's what the sentence is doing in the first place. You don't need to call attention to that. Okay? Four more questions left. Question 32. Sentence 5 in the passage is best described as, okay, so we read sentence 5 and we see what it is. You know, what kind of sentence is it? All right? What's its function? What's its purpose? So we read, Nancy Gardner Prince was right there in St. Petersburg. This is right after we said, oh, some of the most famous events happened, all right? Nancy Gardner Prince was right there in St. Petersburg. So, is that introducing a new topic? Is that B, providing an additional example? C, emphasizing a major point? D, linking two contrasting discussions? Or E, presenting a personal opinion? Do we introduce a new topic? No, we've already said that Nancy Gardner Prince was in the royal court. No, she was right there. B, providing an additional example. Is an additional example of what? Questionable, right? C, emphasizing a major point. Isn't her point that this woman was in the middle of it? She went to live at the Imperial Russian court in 1824. All these things took place. She was right in the middle of it. That seems like what's going on. There was emphasizing a major point. How about D? Linking two contrasting discussions. Is there a contrast here? No. E? Presenting a personal opinion? No, it's a fact. Nancy Gardner Smith was right in the middle of it. So, what are we left with? A questionable B, providing an additional example. What kind of example? No idea. No, she was emphasizing, the author's emphasizing a major point. Great. Question 33. In context. There's that phrase again, right? I've seen that 3 times. In context, which revision appropriately shortens sentence 6? So it's another revision question. It's asking us how is it, which would appropriately shorten the sentence? So sentence 6 says this. Anyone can read about this period, but I would love to listen to that woman who was born and raised in Massachusetts, who heard the rumors and felt the unrest. So would you change anyone can read to just read? So anyone can read about this period or read about this period, but I would love to listen. Okay, that sounds awkward. B, change this period to this. Anyone can read about this, but I would love to listen to that woman. Does that really change much? Does that appropriately shorten it? Don't you want to say this period? Right? That seems to have important information. Not this. Not the fact that she lived there. No, we're talking about this period. Let's see. Change I would love to listen to listen. All right? So, anyone can read about this period, but to listen to that woman who was born and raised in Massachusetts, who heard the rumors and felt the unrest, actually, this would make the sentence incomplete, right? I would love to listen. That's the subject and the verb of the sentence. To listen is just an infinitive phrase. We've lost our subject, we've lost our verb. No, that would not appropriately shorten it. It would make the sentence ungrammatical. D, change who was born and raised in to from. So the sentence would now read, anyone can read about this period, but I would love to listen to that woman from Massachusetts who heard the rumors and felt the unrest. Well, doesn't from have the same meaning as who was born and raised? Yeah, alright. D sounds alright. E, delete and felt the unrest. So, anyone can read about this period, and I would love to listen to that woman who was born and raised in Massachusetts who heard the rumors. Well, isn't it not just the rumors that are important, but the unrest as well? Well, if the unrest is an important part of the sentence, then deleting it would not be the right option. So, change who was born and raised in to from. Alright? There you go. 2 more questions. Which of the following is the best sentence to insert at the beginning of the second paragraph? Alright? So, the second paragraph talks about what? It says she had an ability to speak several languages. This is Nancy. That enabled her to gather stories from eyewitnesses. She shared in the hope and sadness of those long ago people. We know that she tried to learn everything about everything she found. I believe she would have had much to say about the many countries she lived in. Alright, so it's giving examples of, I don't know, certain important aspects of this lady, alright? So which of the following is the best sentence to insert at the beginning of the second paragraph? So we're inserting a sentence. A, the journey to Massachusetts had been long. Alright, first off, when you insert a sentence at the beginning of a paragraph, that sentence is supposed to sort of prepare the reader for what's going to come later. So, the journey from Massachusetts had been long. Are we talking about, is the main purpose of this paragraph her journey? No. B, in 1824, St. Petersburg was a turbulent city. Yes, that's true, but we're not talking about St. Petersburg. That's not the focus. The focus is Our Lady, all right? So, B, a little bit questionable. C, Russian history has fascinated me for many years. Well, why would you start out talking about Russian history and then immediately go on to talk about something else, right? So no. D, unfortunately, Prince faced harsh winters in St. Petersburg, all right? Is there really any sense of unfortunately here? I don't know. Well, let's look at E. Prince was an ideal observer in many ways. So, does the author then goes on to talk about how Prince was an ideal observer? Yes. All right, so E would be the best answer choice. All right, last question. Question number 35. In context, which of the following revisions would not improve sentence 9? So, just like we saw in question 31, which would not improve the sentence. Sentence 9, it reads, we know that she tried to learn about everything she found. I believe she would have much to say about the many countries she lived in. So, A, would you want to delete we know that? Alright, so if you delete this phrase, we know that, what will you get? So it's at the beginning of the sentence. We know that she tried to learn about everything. Alright? So if you delete it, it would say she tried to learn about everything she found. Alright, that would probably be okay if you deleted this. Okay? It's not really necessary. You still get the same meaning. Alright? Delete I believe. So we know that she tried to learn about everything she found. She would have much to say about the many countries she lived in. So instead of I believe she would have much to say, you say she would have much to say. Sure, that would be an improvement, right? So okay, these two. This is all unnecessary words. So how about C? Change found to encountered. All right. We know that she tried to learn about everything she found. Tried to learn about everything she encountered. Right. So encountered doesn't have the connotation that she's searching for things, that she's finding things. Encountered just means, she encountered it. She came across it. All right. So yeah, okay, that would improve it. How about D? Change the dash to a semicolon. All right. So will the semicolon work well? Yeah, I believe so, because what comes after the dash is an independent clause. Okay, so we're left with E. Hopefully this is the right answer. Would this help change much to tons of things? I believe she would have much to say about the many countries she lived in. I believe she would have tons of things to say. Well, it means the same thing. How would that improve it? Well, it wouldn't improve it. So, tons of things, we don't want tons of things. We already have it. Tons of things is an ambiguous phrase. Much gets across the point. So, okay. Name's Choice Ethan. Well, there it is. The end. Oh. And it was an epic struggle, wasn't it? Well, on test day, you're going to have about a quarter of the time that I just used. So take that into account. Regardless, we did it. We enjoyed it, hopefully. And most importantly, we learned something. So good work sticking it through. Thanks for coming out, and hopefully you enjoy your time on Grockit.